Alright, so at the beginning I asked you to create a group, right? I asked you to group your robotic arm and create a group called robotic arm. So these should all move, together. So let me go ahead and reorient this by clicking one of the links, and I'm going to position it so that way it's a little bit better for me to see. I like this orientation, so I'm going to go ahead and right click. I'm going to fix this link here, and for the overall group I'm just going to go ahead and delete that overall group. So the overall group is called robotic arm. I'm going to go ahead and edit it, and I'm going to delete the gripper. I'm going to delete the arm. I'm going to leave that one. I'll leave that one. I'll leave that one. I'm going to leave the motor, and I'll get rid of the spur gear. I'll get rid of this large wheel assembly gear. Go ahead and get rid of the axles as well. So really you should just have three parts, right? The two vertical links and your motor. I'm going to go ahead and call that my robotic arm, or actually I'm going to call it the arm base. Okay, so there's my arm base. So that allows me to separate these now. I'll bring this one over here. Here's what I want to do. I'm going to go ahead and create another group. I'm going to group the axle with the gear. Call it large gear. You can call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it large gear. And then same thing over here. I'm going to group the smaller gear, the spur gear, with the axle. I'll call it spur gear. Okay, so let me go ahead and move that out of the way. Move this out of the way. Alright, so I want this axle to freely rotate, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply insert it into this hole that I just saw. So I'm going to do so with a revolute mate. So I'm going to select the tip here, and I'll select, I think it was this hole right here. Let me zoom in. There you go. And I'm going to make an offset. I'll do 0.5. Let's see what that looks like. 0.5 looks good. I'm going to go ahead and check that off. And then same thing over here. Let me go ahead and do a revolute mate and do the tip of this axle there. Select that, do an offset of 0.5 as well. Alright, so let me do 0.75. Oh, or just do 1. 1 seems fine. Alright, so it looks like I need to bring down this larger gear 1. So So let me go ahead and select the first revolute mate that I created. I'm going to go ahead and edit it. Actually, I'm just going to delete it. Yeah, it looks like it needs to go there. So I placed it in the wrong section. So let me go ahead and do a revolute mates. Offset 0.5. Alright, that looks like it's lined up pretty well. Now I'm going to rotate this so that way it's aligned perfectly with my spur gear. And let me go ahead and do a gear relation now. So I'm going to do a gear relation between the large gear and smaller gear. I think it's 7. Or it could be 1/7. You know what, I need to select the 2 revolutes. So my 2 revolutes are selected. I have a relation ratio of 7. Alright, so let me edit that. I think it's 1/7. Okay, that seems more appropriate. There you go, so you see your gear rotating with the spur gear. And the way I calculated 1/7 was the number of teeth. I think there's 7 times as many teeth in the larger gear than the smaller gear. Alright, cool beans. So let's do a fastened mate. I'm going to go ahead and mate that looks good. I'm going to do a fastened mate. So that way the large gear rotates with the link. And for the one above, I'm just going to do a revolute mate. So I'm going to select revolutes. Okay, I don't like how this is aligned here, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to my spur gear, which to me is, I believe it's revolute 6. I'm going to go ahead and edit this. Instead of 1, we'll do an offset of 0.8. Let me 0.9. I'm just trying to align it perfectly. That's the larger gear, and that looks like it's pretty aligned. So 0.9 works for me. Alright, so that's Gucci. Cool beans. Alright, now let's see if this works with my gripper here. Alright, so just as I suspected, these are all different parts. Let me go ahead and make this one group. So I'm going to select group. And I just clicked on the gear and everything highlighted. Sorry, the motor and everything highlighted. I'm going to call this gripper. Alright, so now that's one part. So now I'm going to use Revolute Mate. Select this hole right here. I'll go ahead and connect it with this hole up here. And then this may work, it may not work. If it doesn't work, so I'm going to try Revolute Mate. If the Revolute Mate doesn't work, then the Cylindrical Mate should work. So I'm going to select this hole again here. And I'll select this portion here. Let's see if that works. Nope, I see a bunch of red. So let me go ahead and edit this. Let me select Cylindrical Gucci. Excellent. Alright, so the last thing we need is just to make sure that we can get that gripper going, and I'll do that in a separate video. Okay, actually it didn't animate when I used those constraints, so I'm going to go ahead and use, I constrained it on the right side of the gripper. I need to do it on the left side. So I'm going to go ahead and do a Revolute Mate now here. Instead of the other side where I initially started. So I'm going to do a Revolute Mate there, and instead of doing a Cylindrical Mate on the other side, which I did, I'm going to go ahead and select Cylindrical. I'm going to select this portion here. There we go. Let's go ahead and solve this. Alright, so then this should animate because the other one didn't animate. So if I go to my first Revolute here, let me animate it. I just copy it. Alright, so I'm going to go to Animate. Okay, that's weird. Let's do 360 to 30. Alright, maybe negative 360 to negative 90. Yours would be different, you would just play around with it, but this looks like it works for me. Somewhat. No. I'll do negative 180. Alright, as soon as you get animated, then the animation is just to double check that you know it's working. So it doesn't really matter, as long as it animates, you're good. So you can go ahead and stop this. And I'll finish the gripper in a separate video.